Alex Cooper wiped sweat from his brow as he checked the pressure readings on the mining drill. The asteroid's surface was cold and airless, but inside his environment suit, the temperature rose quickly with exertion. After 6 months on the remote mining station in the Cygnus sector, he had gotten used to the constant discomfort. What he couldn't get used to were the safety shortcuts the Varloxian overseers kept taking. The blue-skinned aliens had been running mining operations across 3 star systems for centuries. They viewed humans as newcomers to the galactic community, barely out of their planetary cradle and lucky to have jobs at all. Most days, Alex kept his head down and did his work. Earth needed these jobs and the resources they provided. Being one of the first humans to work this far from home came with responsibilities. "Cooper, why has Drill Platform 6 stopped production?" The voice of Station Director Zextal crackled through Alex's comm unit. "Sir, I'm seeing dangerous pressure build up in the secondary cooling systems," Alex replied, pointing to the flashing red indicators on his handheld scanner. "If we don't shut down and replace the regulators, we risk is calculated into our profit margins." Zextal interrupted. "Resume operations immediately." Alex looked around at the other workers on his shift, 2 Talaxians with their distinctive, ridged foreheads and a Nelvarian whose 6 eyes blinked nervously. They all heard the order. They all knew what it meant. "Sir, with respect, Galactic Union safety regulations clearly state that—" "I am aware of the regulations, human." Zextal's voice turned colder. "The Varloxian Mining Consortium has operated successfully for 800 years. Your species was still fighting with metal sticks when we built our first space elevator. Resume operations now, or I will find someone who will." Alex took a deep breath. 6 months of similar conversations had taught him that arguing further would accomplish nothing. But this time the readings were worse than he'd ever seen. "I need to document my concerns before restarting," Alex said firmly. "I'll file the report and restart the drill in 15 minutes. The comm went silent. Alex nodded to his team and began recording his observations into the station's safety log. He carefully documented each pressure reading, the visible wear on the coolant housings, and the timestamps of his warnings. Union inspectors might never see this report, but at least he'd done what he could. 20 minutes later, Alex sat in Zextal's office, facing the station director across a desk made from polished asteroid metal. The Varloxian's skin had darkened to a deep navy blue, a sign of anger in their species. "You directly disobeyed an order," Zextal said, his 4-fingered hands folded in front of him. "And you filed a safety report that will cost this station significant credits when our headquarters reviews it." "I followed proper procedures," Alex said calmly. "Those coolant systems are going to fail if they're not replaced. When that happens, we could lose the entire drill platform and the people working on it." Zextal stood, his tall frame looming over the desk. "Your concern for your fellow workers would be commendable if it weren't so disruptive. The Varloxian approach to resource extraction is based on efficiency. Sometimes that means accepting calculated risks. Not when those risks involve lives," Alex said, standing as well. Though tall for a human, he still had to look up to meet the alien's gaze. "And not when those risks are unnecessary. I've worked up a repair schedule that would only slow production by 8% while we replace the worn components. I can show you—" "Enough!" Zextal slammed a hand on his desk. "You humans are all the same. Barely a century into space travel and you think you know better than species who mastered it millennia ago. Your repair schedule has been denied. Your safety report has been deleted from the system. You will return to work, or you will return to Earth on the next transport. Is that clear?" Alex felt his face grow hot. "That report was filed according to Union regulations. You can't just delete it." "I just did." The Varloxian's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. "This is my station. Out here my authority supersedes your precious regulations." "Then I'll file it again and send a copy directly to the Union Safety Commission," Alex said, pulling out his personal datapad. "What you're doing isn't just dangerous, it's illegal." Zextal moved with surprising speed for his size. He grabbed Alex's datapad and threw it against the wall, where it shattered. "That was Union property," Alex protested. "Bill me," Zextal said. "Now get out of my office and get back to work." Alex stood his ground. Not until you acknowledge the safety issues. People could die, Director. People. Always people with you humans. Zextal hissed. The galaxy operated just fine before your kind started spreading your outdated ideas about individual rights and worker protections. Resources are what matter. Profit is what matters. Not to us, Alex said quietly. And not to the Union either. I'm going to report this. Something changed in Zextal's eyes. A calculation. A decision. He moved toward Alex, backing him toward the office door that led to the maintenance corridor. You think the Union cares about one human on one mining station? Zextal asked. You think anyone will even investigate? Your species has no real allies out here, Cooper. You're tolerated because your planet has resources the galaxy needs. Nothing more. That's not true, Alex said, though a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. Earth was still new to the galactic community. Their position was not yet secure. The Union has laws that protect everyone. Laws are for the powerful to interpret, Zextal said, continuing to advance. Let me show you how much your human rules matter out here. When Zextal shoved him, Alex wasn't prepared. He stumbled backward through the door and into the corridor. His boot caught on an uneven section of deck plating and he fell, straight into the open maintenance shaft behind him. Alex's scream was cut short as he hit the bottom of the shaft 30 meters below. Zextal looked down the dark shaft for several moments. Then he calmly closed the access hatch, engaged the lock, and returned to his desk. He pressed a button on his communication panel. Security, this is Director Zextal. I need a cleanup team in maintenance shaft 7C. It appears we've had an accident. And contact Earth's representative. Tell them one of their engineers ignored safety protocols and fell down an unsecured shaft. He paused. Such a shame. These humans never seem to watch where they're going. 3 days later, a small compensation package was transmitted to Earth's government, along with a brief report describing an unfortunate accident caused by human error. The report noted that Alex Cooper had been warned about safety procedures but had nevertheless entered a restricted area without proper equipment. The Varloxian Mining Consortium considered the matter closed. Earth did not. Admiral Susan Hayes sat motionless at her desk as she finished reading the report about Alex Cooper's death. The only sign of her anger was a slight tightening around her eyes. After 30 years in Earth's Navy, she had learned to control her emotions, but this report made it difficult. An accident, she said quietly, looking up at her aide. They're calling it an accident. Lieutenant Greg Powell nodded. Yes, Admiral. The Varloxian Mining Consortium sent a compensation package along with the report. Standard procedure for workplace fatalities according to their corporate guidelines. Susan stood and walked to the window of her office. Below, the sprawling naval headquarters stretched toward the San Francisco coastline. Ships were visible in the bay, some floating on water, others hovering above it. Earth had come a long way in the 50 years since first contact. How much? She asked. 50,000 galactic credits, Powell replied. Approximately equivalent to 2 years of Cooper's salary. Susan turned, her face hardening. They think a human life is worth 2 years of wages. The Varloxians are known for their economic approach to everything, Admiral. Susan picked up her tablet and scrolled through the report again. Cooper had been filing safety complaints for months, all properly documented according to Union regulations. Yet none of those complaints appear in this report. No, Admiral. And no mention of why an unsecured maintenance shaft was left open in a high-traffic area. No explanation for why a senior engineer would simply fall down a shaft he walked past every day. Powell shifted uncomfortably. The report suggests human error. Of course it does. Susan set the tablet down and made a decision. Contact Lieutenant Jack Martinez. I want him on the next ship to the Cygnus sector. Full investigative authority. Powell looked surprised. The diplomatic corps might prefer we handle this through official channels first. The mining consortium operates under Varloxian jurisdiction, and Cooper was a citizen of Earth. Susan cut him off. That gives us jurisdiction too, and I'm not sending a diplomat. I'm sending an investigator. Yes, Admiral. After Powell left, Susan made another call. The face that appeared on her screen belonged to Daniel Warren, Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Union. Susan, he greeted her with a smile that quickly faded when he saw her expression. What's happened? We lost someone, Daniel. A mining engineer in the Cygnus sector. The Varloxians are calling it an accident, but I don't believe it. Daniel's face grew serious. I assume you've seen the official report? I have. It's full of holes. Be careful, Susan, Daniel warned. The Varloxians have been in the Union for centuries. They have allies, trade agreements, defense pacts. We're still the newcomers here. So we should just accept whatever they tell us, even when one of our people dies under suspicious circumstances? Daniel sighed. Of course not. I'll make inquiries through official channels. See what I can learn. Thank you. I'm also sending Martinez to investigate directly. Daniel raised an eyebrow. That might be seen as provocative. Maybe it should be, Susan replied. Cooper has a sister, by the way, Dr. Olivia Cooper. She works at the Berkeley Propulsion Laboratory. Has she been notified? Yes, and she's not accepting the official story either. At that moment, across the bay in Berkeley, Olivia Cooper was using her security clearance to access everything she could find about her brother's death. As one of Earth's leading quantum physicists, she had helped develop the drive systems that now powered humanity's growing fleet. That gave her access to information most civilians never saw. Olivia had been crying earlier, but now her face was set with determination as she scrolled through document after document. The official report from the Varloxians told one story, but her brother's personal messages told another. Alex had been worried about safety conditions at the station for months. His last message mentioned a confrontation with the station director, scheduled for the day he died. A knock at her laboratory door made her quickly close the classified files. A young research assistant stood in the doorway. Dr. Cooper, I'm sorry to bother you. We heard about your brother. Thank you, Ryan, Olivia said, trying to keep her voice steady. If there's anything we can do. Actually, there is, Olivia decided suddenly. Do you still have a friend working in communications at Naval Headquarters? Ryan nodded, looking confused. I need to talk to her. Today, if possible. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Jack Martinez was already packing for his mission to the Cygnus sector. As part of Earth's newly formed External Investigations Unit, he had handled cases on 3 different worlds, but this would be his first time dealing with the Varloxians. He studied their culture and legal systems during the 3-day journey aboard the fast courier ship EDF Messenger. The Varloxians valued hierarchy, efficiency, and profit above all else. Their society was structured around corporate entities rather than governments as humans understood them. The mining consortium was one of their oldest and most powerful organizations. When the messenger arrived at the asteroid mining station, Martinez was met by a junior Varloxian administrator who seemed annoyed by his presence. We have already provided a full report to your government, the administrator said as he led Martinez through the station corridors. The compensation package was generous by any standard. I'm not here about compensation, Martinez replied. I'm here to investigate the circumstances of Alex Cooper's death. There is nothing to investigate. It was a workplace accident. Unfortunate but not uncommon in mining operations. Martinez noted how the administrator avoided making eye contact. I'd like to see where it happened. The administrator hesitated. That area has been sealed for safety reasons. Unsealing it would be a good first step in our investigation, Martinez said firmly. I must consult with Station Director Zextal before allowing access to restricted areas. By all means, Martinez said. I look forward to meeting the director as well. That meeting never happened. For the next 2 days, Martinez was told that Zextal was too busy to see him. He was given limited access to the station's public areas, but was blocked from the maintenance section where Alex had died. Station personnel were suddenly unavailable whenever he tried to interview them. On the 3rd day, Martinez got lucky. A Talaxian engineer named Krell approached him in the station's dining area. You are investigating the human's death, Krell said quietly, his ridged forehead creased with worry. I am. Did you know Alex Cooper? Krell looked around nervously. We worked together. He was a good engineer, careful. Not someone who would ignore safety protocols. Do you believe his death was an accident? Krell's six-fingered hand slid a small data chip across the table. Meet me in Cargo Bay 3 at shift change. I have something to show you. Hours later, Martinez watched security footage that clearly showed Zextal shoving Alex backward into the maintenance shaft. The footage had been deleted from the official system, but Krell had recovered it from a backup. This will get me fired if they learn I showed you, Krell said. It might do worse than that, Martinez replied grimly. I need to get this back to Earth immediately. That night, Martinez transmitted the footage to Admiral Hayes through a secure channel. Her response was immediate. Return to Earth. Bring the witness if possible. This is now a murder investigation. As Martinez prepared to leave with Krell, who had agreed to testify, news arrived from Earth. Ambassador Warren's diplomatic inquiries had been met with formal protests from the Varloxian government about human interference in internal corporate matters. They had issued a statement reaffirming that Alex Cooper's death was an accident, claiming that any evidence to the contrary was fabricated. They had seriously misjudged humanity's response. The emergency meeting room at Earth Defense Headquarters was filled with the planet's top military and diplomatic leaders. Admiral Susan Hayes stood at the head of the table, her face grim as she played the security footage showing Alex Cooper's murder. When the video ended, the room remained silent for several moments. The evidence is clear, Susan said finally. This was not an accident, it was murder followed by a deliberate cover-up. Ambassador Daniel Warren nodded. I've spent the last week trying diplomatic channels. The Varloxians refuse to acknowledge any wrongdoing. They've threatened to cut all trade with Earth if we pursue this matter. Can we afford that? Asked General Frank Rodriguez, head of Earth's ground forces. Economically? Yes, replied Economic Minister Patricia Chen. It would be painful but not devastating. We've been preparing for possible trade disruptions since we joined the Galactic Union. The real question, Susan said, is whether we can afford not to respond. If we allow the murder of an Earth citizen to go unpunished, what message does that send to the rest of the galaxy? Olivia Cooper sat quietly at the far end of the table. As Alex's closest relative and a respected scientist, she had been invited to attend. Now all eyes turned to her. Dr. Cooper, Daniel Warren said gently, what are your thoughts? Olivia looked up, her eyes red but determined. My brother believed in following rules. He believed the Galactic Union's laws would protect him while he was trying to protect others. Her voice grew stronger. If we don't stand up now, his death means nothing and no human will be safe out there. Susan nodded and turned to the President of the United Earth Government, Eleanor Garcia. Madam President, we need to decide on our response. President Garcia looked around the table. Options? We have 3, Susan said. First, we continue, pushing through diplomatic channels, knowing the Varloxians will block us at every turn. Second, we file a formal case with the Galactic Justice Council, which could take years to resolve. Or third, we take direct action to apprehend those responsible and bring them to justice ourselves. Direct action means military action, Daniel warned. The Varloxians have a substantial defense fleet. They're one of the oldest members of the Union. And we're one of the newest, Susan acknowledged. But that doesn't mean we're helpless. President Garcia considered this. What exactly are you proposing, Admiral? Operation Accountability, Susan said, activating a holographic display above the table. A targeted show of force with 3 specific objectives. Arrest Zextal and any others involved in Alex Cooper's murder, secure all evidence of the crime and the cover-up, and extract appropriate reparations for the Cooper family and Earth. The hologram showed 5 battle carriers and their escort ships. At their center was the EDF Liberty, Earth's newest and most advanced vessel. Captain Nathan Ford will command the fleet, Susan continued. We'll send this force directly to the mining station in Varloxian space. It's a clear message, but a limited one. We're not declaring war. We're enforcing justice. The Varloxians will see it as an act of war. Daniel objected. Perhaps, Susan agreed, but they need to understand that humanity will not be pushed around. We may be new to the galactic community, but we won't be treated as second-class citizens. President. Garcia studied the plan. The Varloxians will respond with their own fleet. Most likely, Susan said. That's why we need to deploy our full capabilities. The special projects? General Rodriguez asked, raising an eyebrow. Susan nodded. It's time to show what we can really do. For the past 20 years, Earth had been publicly developing standard weapons and defenses while secretly working on much more advanced systems. These classified projects combined humanity's unique approach to warfare with technologies adapted from various alien species. The Galactic Union has strict regulations about weapon systems, Daniel reminded them. Which we've followed to the letter in our public deployments, Susan replied. But there's nothing in the Union Charter that prevents us from developing defensive capabilities beyond the standard. President Garcia took a deep breath. If we do this, there's no going back. We'll be changing humanity's position in the galaxy overnight. It's already changed, Olivia said quietly. The moment they killed my brother and thought they could get away with it, everything changed. The only question is how we respond. The president nodded slowly. Very well. Admiral Hayes, you have authorization to proceed with Operation Accountability. Ambassador Warren, prepare a statement for the Galactic Union explaining our actions. Make it clear that this is about justice, not aggression. As the meeting ended, Captain Nathan Ford was already aboard the EDF Liberty, preparing his crew for deployment. The massive ship, nearly a kilometer long, represented the best of human engineering and determination. Captain to all hands, Ford announced over the ship-wide communication system. We have received our orders. In 6 hours, we deploy to Varloxian space on a mission of the highest importance. This is not a drill or an exercise. The eyes of Earth and the galaxy will be upon us. The crew of the Liberty, like all ships in Earth's fleet, was diverse. Humans from every continent worked alongside the few alien species who had chosen to join Earth's forces. First Officer Maria Reyes stood at Ford's side on the bridge as he reviewed the mission parameters. Do you think the Varloxians will back down? She asked quietly. No, Ford replied. They've had centuries to build up their arrogance. They'll expect us to be the ones who back down. And if they attack? Ford's face remained calm, but his eyes hardened. Then they'll learn why humans survived centuries of war on our home planet. We don't start fights, but we certainly know how to finish them. News of the fleet's deployment spread quickly through the Galactic Union. Many older species reacted with shock and outrage at what they saw as humanity's disproportionate response to a minor incident. At an emergency session of the Union Council, Ambassador Warren stood before representatives of 300 worlds to explain Earth's position. For 1,000 years, you have all lived under laws that claim to protect every sentient being, he told them. Yet when a human is murdered and evidence is provided, you call it a minor incident. Would it be minor if the victim were Varloxian? Or Talaxian? Or Nelvarian? The council chamber buzzed with uncomfortable murmurs. You may have forgotten what it means to stand up for your own people, Warren continued. We haven't. One human life may seem insignificant to you, but to us, it's worth defending with everything we have. Today, humanity reminds the galaxy of something it seems to have forgotten. Justice must apply to everyone, or it applies to no one. As Warren spoke, the Earth Defense Fleet emerged from jump points at the edge of Varloxian space. 5 battle carriers and 20 escort ships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their weapon systems ready but not yet active. Captain Ford sent a simple message to Varloxian authorities. We are here for justice, not war. Surrender Zextal and all those involved in the murder of Alex Cooper, or we will come and take them ourselves. The Varloxian response was immediate. 15 warships moved to intercept the Earth fleet, with more on the way. The first confrontation between Earth and a major galactic power had begun. Captain Nathan Ford stood calmly on the bridge of the EDF Liberty as the Varloxian warships approached. Through the main viewport, he could see their formation, 15 ships already present with more arriving by the minute. Soon the Earth fleet would be outnumbered 3-1. Incoming transmission from the Varloxian flagship, announced Communications Officer Lisa Chen. On screen, Ford ordered. The face that appeared belonged to High Commander Drez Kor, the leader of the Varloxian Defense Fleet. His blue skin was darkened with anger and his 4 eyes narrowed as he looked at Ford. "You have violated Varloxian sovereign space," Drez Kor said without greeting. "Remove your ships immediately or face destruction." Ford kept his voice level. "High Commander, we are here on a matter of justice. Your government is harboring a murderer. Surrender Zextal and those who helped cover up the murder of Alex Cooper, and we will withdraw peacefully." Drez Kor made a dismissive gesture. "A human died in an industrial accident. This happens throughout the galaxy every day. Your response is both disproportionate and illegal under Union law." "We have evidence it was not an accident," Ford replied. "We've shared that evidence with your government. They have refused to acknowledge it. Even if your evidence were valid, which we do not concede, this matter falls under Varloxian jurisdiction. Your military presence here is an act of aggression that will not stand." Ford leaned forward slightly. "Let me be clear. High Commander, we do not seek conflict with your people. We seek only justice for one of our own. The choice is yours. Surrender those responsible, or we will take them." Drez Kor's face hardened. "You humans have been in space for barely a century. The Varloxian Imperium has stood for millennia. If you want a demonstration of real power, you shall have it." The transmission cut off abruptly. "They're charging weapons," reported Tactical Officer Ryan Garcia. "All ships in their formation." First Officer Maria Reyes looked at Ford. "Your orders, Captain?" "Defensive posture only," Ford said firmly. "Activate all shields and countermeasures. No offensive action without my direct command." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, activating systems that had never been tested in actual combat. The 5 Earth carriers formed a protective formation around their escort ships. "Enemy vessels firing," Garcia announced, his voice tense, but controlled. The space between the fleets lit up as Varloxian energy weapons discharged in a coordinated barrage. The attack streaked toward the Earth ships, powerful enough to cripple conventional vessels. But the Earth ships were not conventional. As the energy weapons hit the human vessels, something unexpected happened. Instead of exploding against shields or tearing through hulls, the energy seemed to flow across the surface of the Earth ships, channeled by previously hidden systems. "Adaptive energy dispersion working at 94% efficiency," Garcia reported with barely concealed pride. "Minor shield damage on the Defiant and Intrepid, but all ships remain fully operational." On the Varloxian flagship, Drez Kor watched in disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered. "No defense system can absorb that much energy. Fire again. All ships, maximum power." The second barrage was even more intense than the first. Again, the human ships absorbed or deflected most of the attack, their hulls glowing briefly as the energy was redistributed. "They're launching kinetic weapons," Garcia warned as the Varloxians switched tactics. Thousands of high-velocity projectiles sped toward the Earth fleet, a simple but effective approach that had worked in space combat for centuries. "Activate point defense systems," Ford ordered. From the Earth ships, countless small drones deployed, moving faster than the eye could track. These autonomous defensive units intercepted the incoming projectiles with perfect precision, creating a barrier of small explosions between the two fleets. Not a single projectile reached its target. In the tense silence that followed, Ford made his decision. Launch the swarm. Weapon bays opened on all 5 Earth carriers. What emerged was not conventional missiles, but clouds of small, agile combat drones, thousands of them, each no larger than a human hand. They moved in perfect coordination, like schools of fish or flocks of birds. "What are those?" Drez Kor demanded as his sensors detected the drone launch. "Target them. Destroy them all." But the swarm was too fast, too numerous. The drones split into precisely coordinated groups, each targeting a specific Varloxian vessel. They avoided the main weapons fire, slipping through defensive gaps and attaching themselves to key systems on the enemy ships. "Swarm units in position," Garcia reported. "Awaiting your command, sir." Ford nodded. "Surgical strikes only, weapons and engines, minimal casualties." The drones activated in perfect synchronization, small but powerful directed energy pulses, disabled weapon systems, propulsion units and communications arrays on ship after ship. Within minutes, half the Varloxian fleet hung motionless in space, unable to fight or flee. "What is happening?" Dres Kor shouted as his own flagship lost power to its main guns. "How is this possible?" On the Liberty, Ford remained calm. "Send a message to all Varloxian vessels. Their ships have not been destroyed, only disabled. Their life support systems remain untouched. We have no desire to harm their crews." Before this message could be transmitted, 5 more Varloxian heavy cruisers emerged from jump points behind the Earth fleet. "They're trying to flank us," Reyes observed. Ford nodded. "It's time for the demonstration. Target the uninhabited moon in the adjacent system. Prepare the main accelerator cannon. 20% power only." The Liberty's hull reconfigured as massive weapon ports opened along its length. Energy gathered visibly at the front of the ship, building to an intensity that registered on every sensor in the region. "Varloxian reinforcements are demanding our surrender," Chen reported. "Send them live visual feed of our targeting systems," Ford replied. "They need to see this." The Liberty fired a single shot. A beam of concentrated energy, visible even to the naked eye, lanced across space and struck the small moon orbiting a nearby gas giant. The impact was catastrophic. A quarter of the moon's surface vaporized instantly, sending debris spinning into space. The silence that followed was profound. "Open a channel to all Varloxian ships," Ford ordered. When the connection was established, he spoke clearly and without emotion. "That was 20% of our main weapons capacity. We could have aimed it at your homeworld. We didn't. Unlike you, we value all life, even yours. Now let's discuss terms." It took less than an hour for the Varloxian government to respond. The visual of that moon, half of it now reduced to floating rubble, had been transmitted across their worlds. Panic was spreading among their population. "The Varloxian Council is requesting a ceasefire and diplomatic talks," Chen announced, reading the incoming message. "Do they agree to surrender Zextal and the others involved in Cooper's death?" Ford asked. Chen nodded. "Yes, Captain. They agree to all our terms." Ford exchanged glances with Reyes. "It seems they can be reasonable after all." "When properly motivated," she replied with a slight smile. As the Earth fleet maintained its position, a small Varloxian transport approached the Liberty. On board were Zextal and 3 Varloxian executives who had helped cover up Alex Cooper's murder. Their expressions showed something rarely seen on Varloxian faces: fear. The demonstration of Earth's power was complete. The message had been delivered. Justice for one human had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. 1 month after the confrontation in Varloxian space, Admiral Susan Hayes stood before the Galactic Union Council. The circular chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. Many watched her with new respect, some with fear, all with attention. "The matter of Alex Cooper's murder has been resolved," Susan announced. "Zextal and the 3 executives who assisted in the cover-up have been tried and convicted under both Earth and Union law. The Varloxian Mining Consortium has paid reparations to the Cooper family and implemented comprehensive safety reforms across all their operations." The Union's High Chancellor, a tall, thin being from the ancient Dre civilization, nodded. "Earth's demonstration of power has raised many questions within the Union. Some members have expressed concern about the weapons your ships displayed." Susan met his gaze steadily. "Earth developed those systems for defense, not conquest. We kept them private because, as newcomers to the galactic community, we felt it prudent to maintain certain safeguards. Recent events have proven that wisdom." Ambassador Daniel Warren, standing beside her, added, "Let me be clear about our intentions. Earth does not seek domination or revenge. We seek only respect and justice. Had the Varloxian government acknowledged their crime and handled the matter appropriately from the beginning, Military action would never have been necessary. The Union Council chamber buzzed with conversation. Finally, a Varloxian representative rose to speak. Unlike the arrogant officials of the past, this one's manner was subdued. The Varloxian people acknowledge our government's failure in this matter, he said. We have learned a costly but important lesson about the value of individual lives. We ask the Council and Earth to accept our formal apology and our commitment to reform. Susan nodded in acknowledgement. The tension in the room eased slightly. After the council session ended, Susan and Daniel met privately with representatives from a dozen worlds who had requested meetings with Earth. Some sought alliances. Others offered trade agreements. All of them wanted to know more about the humans who had so quickly changed the galaxy's balance of power. They're afraid of us now, Daniel observed as they walked back to the Earth Embassy. Better that than contempt, Susan replied. Fear can become respect over time. Contempt rarely does. And what happens the next time an Earth citizen is harmed somewhere in the galaxy? Susan smiled slightly. I don't think that will be happening quite so often now. On Earth, Olivia Cooper sat in a quiet memorial garden dedicated to her brother. The small stone monument bore Alex's name and the simple inscription, "He stood for what was right." A shadow fell across the stone as someone approached. Olivia looked up to see Lieutenant Jack Martinez, the investigator who had found the evidence of her brother's murder. "Dr. Cooper," he greeted her. "I hope I'm not intruding." "Not at all," she said, gesturing to the bench beside her. "And please, call me Olivia." Martinez sat down. "I wanted to tell you that Zextal's trial is complete. He received the maximum sentence under both Earth and Union law. Will it make a difference?" Olivia asked. "For other humans out there? For other species who get pushed around by the powerful?" "It already has," Martinez replied. "I've been assigned to a new joint task force with the Galactic Union. We'll be investigating safety violations and rights abuses throughout Union space." He paused. "They're calling it the Cooper Initiative." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes, but she smiled. Alex would have liked that. He always wanted to make things better, safer. "There's something else," Martinez said. "The Earth government is establishing a foundation to provide legal and security assistance to vulnerable individuals throughout the galaxy. They'd like you to lead it if you're willing." Olivia looked surprised. "Me? I'm a physicist, not a lawyer, or a security expert. You'd be the public face, the symbol of what we're fighting for. The rest of the team would handle the technical aspects." Olivia looked back at her brother's memorial. "What would it be called?" "The Alex Cooper Foundation." She nodded slowly. "Yes, I'll do it." Aboard the EDF Liberty, Captain Nathan Ford received new orders as his ship patrolled the borders of Earth's territory. The Liberty would lead a goodwill tour to 12 worlds that had requested closer ties with humanity. "Quite a change from a month ago," First Officer Reyes observed as they reviewed the mission. "Remember when most of these worlds wouldn't even answer our communications?" Ford nodded. "Nothing like a demonstration of power to get people's attention." "Is that what it was about? Power?" Ford considered this. "No, it was about justice. The power just made the justice possible." He looked at the star chart showing their planned route. "What matters now is how we use that power." Throughout the galaxy, the story of Earth's response to the death of one human spread rapidly. On hundreds of worlds, oppressed species began standing up for their rights, inspired by Earth's example. Many contacted the new Alex Cooper Foundation for assistance. The Galactic Union, shaken by these events, began reforming its justice system. For too long, power and wealth had allowed some members to ignore Union laws. That era was ending. In a remote mining colony on the edge of known space, a Nelvarian worker watched as new safety systems were installed. The Varloxian supervisor, usually harsh and demanding, was now carefully following every regulation. "Why the sudden concern for safety?" the Nelvarian asked another worker. The other worker, a Talaxian who had worked throughout the galaxy, answered quietly, "Haven't you heard what happened when they killed a human?" No one wants to risk Earth's attention now. One death caused all this change? The Talaxian nodded. One death and one species that refused to look the other way. On Earth, President Eleanor Garcia dedicated the new Galactic Embassy complex in Geneva. Representatives from over 200 worlds attended the ceremony. Earth's journey to the stars began with curiosity and hope, she told the assembled dignitaries. Those remain our guiding principles, but we have added another, justice. Not just for humans, but for all who seek it. She gestured to the memorial wall where Alex Cooper's name was prominently displayed. One human life may have seemed insignificant to some, but it sparked a change that is reshaping our shared future. That is Alex Cooper's legacy. As the Earth Defense Fleet returned from Varloxian space, they received messages from countless beings across the galaxy who had suffered silently under the old order. Some offered thanks. Others pledged alliance. All acknowledged that the galaxy had changed forever. In Admiral Hayes's office, a simple plaque now hung on the wall. It contained the final lines from Captain Ford's report on Operation Accountability. They killed a human thinking we were too small to matter. Our response wasn't just for Alex, it was for everyone who's ever been told their life doesn't count. The galaxy will never be the same, and that's exactly as it should be.